Greetings and welcome to an exciting presentation as we'll be looking into approaches to learning with the goal of ensuring that as you are preparing for your end of year exams, you are in a state of being where you're comfortable and you're ready, as well as ensuring that you've done all that can really help you and ensure that you're also happy with first your end of year exam results, but also you have the skills and ability to continue and you're motivated to continue to study further. For those who may not know me, my name is Phenyo Montsho. I consider myself a UP fossil thanks to the fact that I indeed have been around, and while I don't consider myself an expert, I'm willing to at least share the little that I have learned through my years of studying at the university. So sit back, get comfortable as we take this journey together. We will first focus into the skills or the habits that I do believe that we need to unlearn, as that it is becoming prevalent that we will migrate to physical classes, if not hybrid classes at the very least, but there certainly will be a new approach to how we've been conducting classes for the past 2 years thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic. And for some of us, we've never really truly experienced the campus life. It might be a huge adjustment, and I do think that then it's time that we also migrate and you gravitate towards adjusting back to yet another means of learning, yet another avenue of learning that maybe some of us may not be so familiar with. As we do proceed, there are different habits that we need to actually unlearn over time. One of these habits is to have our screens at hand. Through the time when the pandemic and we were forced to migrate to virtual learning, quite a lot of us were comfortable with virtual learning, where we found ourselves being able to find easy and quick searches and answers because of course our devices were right by our hands. And from time to time, after a fairly long lecture, it's tempting and often very easy to move from the laptop and move to your phone, which is the smaller screens. But what I do think that we need to unlearn is that habit, because we are now moving to physical, if not hybrid learning from 2022. Henceforth, I encourage you to also ensure that all the lazy excuses that were manifest or were very easy to claim with virtual learning can be paused, because from now on, you will need to wake up very early to be on time for your lecture. The second aspect that we need to also unlearn is the chase, which has also been deemed as the millennial problem. It's instant gratification. It is very easy to chase fun now and then I'll only work later, which of course is procrastination. I think that from time to time there's need to ensure that you work now and actually get to enjoy the benefits much later. So of course nothing does compare to that euphoria of submission and closing those tabs, as you know that you can be able to now sleep without worrying about anything. However, we need to curb the as long as I have submitted mentality. You need to get to a point where as you submit, you're also actually very proud of what you're submitting, because after all, you will never know which jobs may need your academic record. It's very easy now for jobs to actually demand to track your progress as you are studying through your degree. So don't just leave everything for your final year thinking that you will only then focus or only then work harder in your final year, but actually you can be able to maintain a very strong academic record even in your undergrad throughout till your final year. Remember that also NSFAS has moved to N+1 after 2029. So they used to give you 2 years of grace. However, right now it's only a single year of grace. So peer pressure may manifest in ways that you had not anticipated. And I know that it's always wonderful to watch a series because there's that pressure of submissions, but I actually encourage you that throughout your exams, if anything, use series as a reward. So therefore work hard and only then be able to enjoy the benefits much later. Therefore find avenues and find ways that will ensure that your gratification is actually extended, where you don't have to worry about anything. Amongst the gospel that I'll probably never stop preaching is the need to take care of your personal well-being. Now, it is, of course, from time to time very easy to forget to put your well-being as a first priority. So more than anything else, please ensure that you are well, you are happy, and you live a balanced life, because the lack thereof can then be able to affect how you live your entire life. And remember that the balance must, at the very least, persist between your physical, your spiritual, and your mental well-being. We are, of course, theology student, so I do believe that the need to maintain a spiritual well-being is very crucial for what we do. Make use of all the resources that are at hand. This includes your lecturers, your tutors, SCU, and all the other wonderful facilities that UP has made available to you. I also would like to bring your attention to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which we'll discuss in the upcoming slides. But I do think that from now on, there is quite a trend for people to seek different avenues to make money. However, I do think that you need to also find a path where you are very comfortable and you're very happy with it. Remember that we're all destined for different things, so please don't find yourself in a position where you feel like you're only doing the minimum and you find yourself comparing, because after all, no one posts their lowlights. We all need then post our highlights, and you might find yourself under pressure solely for the mere fact that other people are posting their great moments, and then you feel like there are no great moments in your life. So therefore, please don't find yourself where you are pressured. If you do put yourself under pressure, let it be from yourself. Do not put yourself under pressure for the sake of others. Know your strength, know your limitations, and work hence from there. As exams are coming up, it becomes very crucial that we're able to plan ahead. We do know that they are upcoming, and we do know that we cannot avoid them. So it's now time that we take all the necessary measures to ensure that we are ready for them. As the maybe cliche but still truthful quote does say, failing to plan is planning to fail. I do think that as time goes by, you need to make effort, a consolidated effort, to ensure that you feel prepared for your exams. And this actually might be that you need to now reflect as to, why am I here? Why am I studying what I am studying? Because that can also be able to influence how you approach your entire learning. Please don't forget that the whole purpose of this presentation is to reflect on your approaches to learning, and I do believe that the end goal can be able to influence how you approach it, all of it. Again, as I did say, make sure that you have all that you may need at hand. If you're going to study, get everything in your study area to reduce distractions and the need to go up and down frequently. Lastly, when you are writing, when you feel like, am I doing too much? It's always better to do too much than to actually do very, very little. So when in doubt, opt for the extras, go the extra mile, because it might just guarantee you a great reward in the future. The last skill which I feel like we also need to unlearn is the need to celebrate small victories, no matter how small they might be. I do believe that's worth celebrating. And henceforth, in case you are not aware, the National Qualification Framework will put you at 7 out of 10, because if you are a university student, you have almost positively acquired your matriculant, your matric, which is 7, NQF level 7. So you've actually achieved 70% of the framework, which of course 8 will be your degree, 9 will be your master's, and then 10 will be your PhD, which I really do hope all of you guys will want to work towards. I highly recommend that. So therefore, understand that you're actually in the higher quintile of learned citizens in the whole country. So it really is something to be proud of and must be celebrated. Not only that, you're also studying at one of the best universities in the country. UP is often always ranked among the top 3 universities in the country, with our faculty of course being the best faculty of theology in the entire continent. So please understand that you are actually among the greats. And as you are, please take time to pause and reward yourself. Of course, have fun when there is need. Sometimes you find that as a university student, you're only not here just to learn, but there are other opportunities where you can actually unwind and relax. So therefore, take time to actually have fun. However, also understand that a winner would know when to stop. So do not put yourself under unnecessary pressure, but of course take the time to celebrate, and then when there is need as well to proceed, then you get back to also working hard. Only then you'll then be able to still work hard. So as I did say that again, when you do achieve, celebrate that. If it is a low light, again understand that we all have our own low lights, but we just never speak about it as much as we do with our highlights. So therefore, also let's relearn to celebrate and then proceed, because they can also act as the greatest motivators as we now move on to a different chapter in our lives. This is possibly one of the longest slides that we will cover, as we are kicking it off with the skills that we need to learn. So the first thing that I do think that we need to learn, particularly as exams are coming up, is to unlock the question. Now, in every examination, in every test, there will always be the keyword, and that's why we're using the metaphor of unlocking, because the keyword will help you be able to respond to the question that is asked out of you. So if I had to ask, do you actually understand the difference between defining and describing? Or do you understand the difference between explaining, illustrating, and evaluating? Because all these words are fairly different, and how you actually respond to the question will determine what is the keyword. So therefore, actually just pause the slide and actually encourage you to try and define or describe any theory that you think might be relevant for the module that you study towards. The layout of this slide does not in any way constitute how a test might be. However, it is important to understand that in every situation, the test is most likely to start with lower or very easy questions and gradually build up to questions that might actually require more critical thinking out of you. So therefore, as you are, highlight these keywords, look for them and understand what each one would actually require out of you, because you might actually be asked to compare and contrast, or you might be asked to analyze as well as synthesize a theory, or better yet, explain it or expand upon the subtopics that might exist out of it. So please pause and try to define and understand what is required by first finding the keyword, and then only then be able to know how to respond given the keyword that is presented unto you. Yet another cheesy, if not cliche, question I can ask is, when last did you do something for the first time? Far more often than not, we are very shy to want to attempt new things, and I do believe this is what possibly holds us back from exploiting and exploring new territory, because we are too comfortable sticking to what we already do know. So henceforth, I would like to encourage you to actually learn plasticity. Brain plasticity. There's the ability for your brain to actually better itself and be able to be used to new things over time. So as they do say that change is the only constant in life, of course, not forgetting text and death. But let's rather focus on the positive. So of course, the pandemic was perhaps a change that neither of us were very ready for. However, it did force us to now be in new territory that we possibly were not ready with, and that is now the ability to see how quickly can you adapt to change that may be thrown before you actually ready, or before you anticipated anything like that. And remember that it is also important that from time to time your own thoughts, your own view are actually challenged. If you're not challenged, you are most likely not learning. Many of us, of course, we might think that if you're in varsity, it means that you have a very good or very stable IQ. But of course, be able to work in the emotional coefficient, which of course is your IQ, your EQ, but of course also develop your IQ at the same time. So as you are progressing, be able to see that you maintain a balance of being able to quickly reflect on how you do things. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. And of course, lastly, be jajarach. I do think that I wouldn't be where I am if I constantly held myself back. So push yourself to the limit, try new things, because it might just open doors which you never knew actually existed. So therefore, take that bold step and actually proceed to see what might be beyond what you normally do. The very last thing that I want you to actually learn is to reflect. is not just awkwardly placed at the end, but I think it is imperative that even as we just are about to wrap up this presentation, reflect on what has been discussed. And the time to pause and reflect is actually very critical across all board. There's no better time than now to reflect as to how your year has been, particularly if you're a first year student. Are you happy with how your first year has turned? Did it meet your expectations? And what do you anticipate to do different in the upcoming year? So I might actually ask that as the year is about to come to an end, what have you learned up to so far? And is there anything that you would love to have done differently? ELI5, which is explained like IM5, is perhaps the best way to see if you're able to reflect upon the concept that you've learned in preparing for your exams. If you cannot explain what you've learned to a 5-year-old, then you probably don't understand it yourself, because it is very key that you break it down in the most basic and the most simplest way that it actually is able to make sense. I don't know how many of us have ever watched the movie Inside Out, but it does speak of core memories, because after all, emotions are able to really have the most lingering of impact or the most lingering of memories. So if you do invest your memories into how you study, it might just have really a great impact into it. And that's why some of us may study better with music, because how the music makes you feel will trigger your emotional response, and you're more able and more likely to actually remember better what you studied. Also, sustain a circle that will continually better you. Now, of course, as they do better you, they also may make you feel uncomfortable. But then again, it is part of your growth to explore and try new things. Of course, you cannot also just be a square. Please have fun in your varsity years. I think one of the greatest regrets that people have to have with their varsity years is that they wish they would have done more. They wish that they would have gotten involved in more things. So have fun and try new things. The greatest lesson that you will pick up in your university years will actually be beyond the four walls of the class. As we are coming to the end of the slide, I'm going to pick up, the last few where I say, in case you missed this. So of course, I know I've been speaking for quite a while. So I'm going to just leave this way. In case you have forgotten most of what I have said, this slide should perhaps make it easier for you to follow. And this is how do you ensure that you really do feel prepared and you feel better for the exams that are coming up. I want to take this time also to wish you all the best for your exams. I really do believe that it can be a very wonderful exams. Do not be determined by how your academic year has turned out up to so far, but I do believe that the smallest change the smallest difference can bring about the biggest of changes. So as you are getting ready, just take all the steps that you might need and be able to better yourself as you're going forward.